In this video, we're going to talk about the NeBBL specific league rules and the organization of the league. So your main league rules document is the NeBBL league rules, which you can find in the Google Drive, and you'll find a link to that in the NeBBL Facebook group. You can go to the description section, and then when you click see more here, you'll get all of the important documents and everything. I update this usually once per season. So yeah, you can go there and then you can open up the league rules document. It's quite long, and you don't, of course, need to read all of it. It's just specifically what rules we're playing with and FAQs and anything that we're doing that's special. So just use the table of contents to look up what you need to. That kind of describes like what rule sets we're using. I try to keep it up to date as much as possible. If there's anything that doesn't make sense or seems to be out of date, let me know and I can update it. But the important things to know is that we play every 10 days. We have one game. So at the beginning of a 10-day cycle or before the 10-day cycle, which we call rounds or 10 days, those you'll get a matchup in the Facebook group. So let me see if I can go to the Facebook group and find from season 1 an example of that. So let's see here. I basically have the schedule made up at the beginning of the season, and then on the 9th of the month or whatever it is before the league season starts, we go ahead and get everybody sort of organized to play against their teams. So let me see. It's pretty far down here. So yeah, basically that will be posted. Yeah. So here's one, for example, for round 6. I put the team names here and then try to @, everybody on Facebook so you get the notification that you've got this message. And then from there, it's up to you to schedule with your opponent in the comments section. We encourage all that to be done publicly. So if there's any problems, we can kind of go back and all see what was said and what happened. Specifically, what we mean is that in order to keep the league running and moving, it's very important that everyone plays their games. And so if somebody's trying to make an effort to schedule and their opponent doesn't respond, that would be then taken as a concede for the person who didn't respond. And we need to see that, yes, this person made the effort, the other person did not respond, therefore this person wins a concede match. And we then process that. Okay, so in the rules, like I said, those are the most important elements. The rules are also found, I'll put copies of them in the season document, so you can always find that where you find your match records and your team rosters, as well as in the Facebook group. So yeah, we play once every 10 days. We also have a concede sort of situation here. So we kind of worked this out beforehand that here's the situations, what would happen if you don't play or don't show up. So yeah, that's how it's all processed. That's all in that document here. If you have to miss a game, as long as you tell everybody, we can work it out. We can figure something out. It's not a big deal if you have to say, oh, I have to concede, I'm not here this week. Ideally, though, you could reschedule the match with your opponent. It would be better for everyone if we play all the games, and that's kind of the intention here. But, life happens, and if you're out traveling or need to for work, you need to miss a month because you're out for something, well, then we just need to know that, and we can schedule around it or process concedes, whatever. It's also important that we have as many coaches as possible and accommodate everyone's lifestyle. So that's what we do. We do have friendlies currently in the league. Haven't been a lot played. There's the rules here for the friendlies, which are basically games you can play outside of your regular league games to a limit of 1 per 10 day. They're less valuable, just as risky and not less valuable than a league game, so you have to decide whether it's worth it or not. And of course, exhibition games, that's just when you're just playing Blood Bowl. We do encourage everyone to share those in the group to drive engagement. And, if you're just playing for fun, well, still everyone wants to know what happened in the game because Blood Bowl is always an interesting and funny game. We do use the hedge coach rules, but you do have to have a suitable mini. We will probably also add something for the other side of that. So on the one hand, the head coach rules say that you can get an extra reroll on a fouling attempt when your player gets ejected. But to balance that out, we'll probably also add it that if a player causes an injury by their fouling, then they can also the coach whose player was injured can force the referee to review and then re-roll. Anyway, we'll get into that. Some of the other specific rules, whether optional, we've clarified whether they're in or not. What you want to play with. So that's as of season 2. This might all change. One thing that's also important is that for throw teammate, Generally, you do not get SPP, but we've decided that you do in our league. You will get one SPP for completion under these conditions. And on the flip side, to balance that out, you can intercept a thrown teammate with these conditions. So those are also good to know. In terms of all of the other stuff, I won't go through it all, but there's a lot of information here. If there's something missing or a situation that we should clarify, let me know. This, like I said, is not meant to be read from first page to last page. It's more of a reference for when things come up. Yeah, that is the basics of how we organize the league and the rules. On top of the league rules, we also use this match sequence. Everyone usually brings one of these to the match. This is just for convenience to help everyone keep track of where they are in the game and all the things that need to be done, especially pre-match and post-match. I mean, this stuff is obviously just about playing Blood Bowl, but this stuff in terms of what should be done when and how that all works is in this sheet here. So it's very useful to have this, and you can just go through it quickly at the end of your match to figure out what you need to do, what you need to roll, because a bunch of these rolls need to be witnessed by your opponent, and some decisions you need to make at the table before you leave. Otherwise, there could be consequences later. So, for example, if you don't spend your money at the table and you have, over 100,000 gold, then you have to roll for expensive mistakes later. So if you spend your money first and you get under 100,000, then you're fine. But if you just haven't decided yet what to buy, then you have to roll, and you might lose that money before you get to decide. Okay, so on top of that, then the other one is the NeBBL inducements. This is another one I've just been maintaining as new inducements come out in Spike magazines. These ones are from all the various spikes. I've just been compiling them. So yeah, those are also useful, especially as we are diversifying in the league with team value. A lot of players will be starting to get more and more inducements, so it's nice to have all the inducements in one place so you can kind of get an idea of what's available to each of your teams. All right, so that's basically all we need to know about league organization. At this point, we play one game every 10 days. You will get a notification on Facebook telling you that who your opponent is this round. It is then up to you to organize a time and location to play with your opponent. We don't have any preference or anything like that for locations. You can play wherever you'd like. You play at home. You can play at the Rod and Gun Club on Thursdays and Sundays when they're open. You can play at Zook's when he's open. You can play at Torchlight whenever, usually Tuesday nights. Totally up to you. Whatever works for you and your opponent, that's entirely up to you guys to schedule. And yeah, and then afterwards you'll submit your match reports, and that's what we'll do next. I'll explain the match reports and league stats system.